Hey everyone, welcome to Shoot the Shit, episode 6, and we have Drew Marvick. You may know him from Pool Party Massacre, Axmas 2, and upcoming Axmas 3. So,
Yeah.
he's a writer, director, and actor. I'm so happy I got him on here. Honestly, like I added you a while ago on Instagram when I think I started getting up on the Drink Beer Watch Horror stuff, and I on Halloween I saw your air cannon thing, and I'm like, what? That shit was fucking hilarious. And so I kind of looked into you more, and I started watching your movies, and I'm like, holy shit. And it's kind of, I noticed that you're really into metal and old school punk and stuff like that, and like it's kind of like I'm like, wow, man. Then the thing that did it the most was the camo fucking Vans.
Nice.
Dude, I got mine a couple years ago, and I haven't fucking worn them in forever. And I just happen to wear them, and I'm fucking looking, and I'm like, holy shit, he's got the fucking slip-ons. So,
I'm wearing them right now.
But yeah, man. Thank you for coming on. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing good. You know, as good as anyone could be, considering the world's falling apart and whatnot. But you know,
I mean, I see you're fucking working a lot, man. Like,
I try to be. I mean, there's difference between work and work. So, I mean, my work, I produce commercials for a living. Like I'm not getting enough of that right now, unfortunately. But I can't sit still. So if I don't have anything on my schedule, then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna make art in some way. So yeah. So I've been able to work on lots of other things, which is great.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, so how did you get into horror? Like as a kid, like growing up, like what got you into it and like sparked your interest in it?
I mean, I always, at least the way that I remember it, I've always loved horror. I didn't necessarily think of it as its own thing. Like I didn't know what horror was, but I liked scary movies, and I liked to be scared from an early age. And my mom was into horror movies. Like, I mean, she didn't go to horror conventions or, look like Morticia, but she was really into horror. She loved The Exorcist and The Omen and like classic horror movies. So she would, when things would come out, she would rent them and bring them home, and I would hear my parents watching them in the other room. So I always kind of had a fascination, but it wasn't until probably, I don't know, high school when I started discovering like 80s slashers and really campy fun horror that I would carry VHS cassette tapes of those movies around with me in my backpack and like put them on at people's houses.
So, is there any movie that stood out, like that one that like holy shit, that it got you hooked?
Well, I mean, I think it's the movie that started it all for me was Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, because I saw it when I think I was about 9, and at a slumber party with a couple kids, and there were 3 brothers, and each one of them got to pick out a movie. And the older brother picked out Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and we watched all the movies. And when it got to that one, they started the movie, and that opening scene on the bridge, I was like terrified. And I looked around the room, and I was the only one still awake. So I like sat there in a stranger's house, wide awake, myself watching that movie at 9 years old. So I remember it vividly that night, like being terrified, and I had nowhere to go. Like I couldn't hide. I couldn't go to my parents' room. I just had to like lay there in a sleeping bag, terrified in someone else's house. So like that kind of started it off, but I didn't necessarily walk out of their house the next day going, I want that to happen again. But it just was something that stuck with me forever, that memory. And I kind of sought after. Then when I was a little older, a couple years later, I wanted to find I didn't even know what it was. Like I didn't know it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. I just knew it was some fucked up movie where a guy in a mask, cut some guy's head in half in a convertible in the beginning, and I was freaked out. And then they made chili and we're eating, and I just was so confused and mortified in my little like 9-year-old brain. So it took me a while to even figure out what it was I watched. And then once I found it it's been one of my favorite. Again, it's been one of my favorite movies ever since.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I kind of had the same thing. Like, remember when HBO and Cinemax did like their free previews, like on the weekends, on like holidays and stuff? I remember seeing Sleepaway Camp, like waking up at like 2 a.m. and going out and watching TV because they had the free movie channel. And fucking saw the penis and her face, and my child mind couldn't grasp that whole concept of like, what the fuck? Why does she have a penis? And why is she like that? And like, it wasn't even the violence. It was just that scene. Like, it's been burned in my mind ever since. And I was just like, what the fuck? And it scared the crap out of me. And that was my gateway to horror. And then Monster Squad, and you don't really think about that one until like you get older, and you're like, holy shit, yeah, that was another big one that got a lot of kids into horror. And
for sure, definitely for me. Like, I was obsessed with Monster Squad as a kid. I watched it we had a copy of it that my mom recorded from the rental copy, and I would watch it constantly. I still watch it. I mean, I have kids, so that's my excuse, but even if I didn't, I would still watch it probably once a year.
It's such a good movie. Granted, it doesn't hold up to today's standards, like political and all that stuff. But it's such a great movie though. Overall, even with that stuff that's in it.
Yeah, it's hard to play. It's hard to play for your kids because it's so not politically correct.
Yes.
But you can look past that. I mean, it was just the times, and it's such a good movie and it's been on my brain now that the Wolfman's Got Nards documentary came out. So I just watched that as well.
Sure, man. Like, my very first shoot the shit was Andre Gower, and like, I was never expecting him to, like, I just found a bunch of celebrities on Instagram and I shot them messages going, hey, like that. I kind of did a template thing, and he wrote back. I'm like, no way. I'm like, that's crazy. We sat there and we drank Sapporo and just had like a good shoot the shit about Monster Squad and all that stuff, man. It was cool, and like, I just love talking horror to people, especially people that do it and get to make it and produce it and direct it. I mean, like, the Axeman stuff, man, it's great B grade horror, and I love it. I love the B grade stuff, man. I do. But Pool Party Massacre, man, like, you did a really, really good job in that movie, like writing and directing and acting and all that stuff. I mean, it wasn't a B grade movie that was made. Like, you did phenomenal in it. And
oh, thank you, man.
Like, I watched it a couple times already, and I was like, oh, man, that's such a good movie. Like, I kind of was looking around, like, I kind of want to buy it on DVD, and I can't find it anywhere. So,
poolpartymassacre.com.
Is it? Oh,
yeah.
All right.
That's probably the only place, though. It used to be at a bunch of other online retailers, but now that it's a little older, they've kind of slowly stopped restocking it when it sells out. Yeah. But yeah, thank you, dude. I mean, look, it's the first feature I ever wrote and or directed, so it was I had no expectations. I didn't think anyone was going to like it. I didn't even know if anyone would ever see it. I mean, I made, it has a $6,000 budget. We were shooting like super guerrilla style with no money, just calling in favors and shooting in my house and my parents' house and various people's houses to cheat for different things. And so, yeah, I mean, like I say, it's a $6,000 slasher film that I shot in my parents' backyard for the most part.
you did a phenomenal job on it. Like the writing, you can tell like you actually gave a shit in the writing, as opposed to like even like really big budget horror movies. Like, the writers are just fuck it. So. But,
well, I tried. So thank you. I appreciate it. Like, it blows my mind when people, tell me that they liked it. I still can't believe it. But
it's a good movie, man. Like, it really is. Like, so what are you doing now? Like, are you like, other than Xmas 3 that's coming out soon? Like, what, do you have anything planned coming up? And
yeah, I mean, I got a bunch of things. I just wrapped up a couple projects like during this pandemic, which has been great. We were supposed to be making Pool Party Massacre 2. In theory, we should have been done shooting it, but we never even got to start because of the lockdown of the pandemic. Because we were going to start, at the end of May, And by then we were on a complete lockdown here in Vegas and couldn't even pull film permits. We couldn't do anything. So I just put the whole thing on hold, hoping it would only be a month or two. But here we are, at the end of the year. So since I couldn't do that, I was able to wrap up scenes for movies. Like I act in a movie called Lorette Party that Paul Ragsdale directed. He directed Streets of Vengeance also, which is a great movie if you haven't seen it. So we got to finish that up. I think that movie's done now. So hopefully it'll be coming out soon. I got to shoot my scenes for The Barn Part 2. What else I've been working on? A couple of anthology films. I have a short in an anthology that was supposed to be out right now, but I think it just got pushed to February called oh my God, what's it called? 13 Sleighs Till Christmas. And so those are the things I wrote and directed a short for that. I have another Christmas anthology that I produced the whole anthology. We're almost done with that. That's shooting for next Christmas though. Okay. So yeah, so I've just been churning away on all of those things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what got you into acting and doing the horror acting?
I mean, I've always loved being a goofball, but I didn't know that acting was ever a job that I could do. Like I knew people did it for a job, but I didn't think I could ever do it. But coming in through being a producer, like I said earlier, I produce commercials. So and I've been doing that for 20 years now. So there were just so many times on set that we needed someone to fill a role. Like either somebody didn't show up, or we realized once we're on set, or the director says, man, it'd be great if we could have another person over here to ask a question or play off this line or whatever. And it just always ended up being me. Like I would volunteer. I didn't mind. And so many other people were afraid to be on camera. So every time we needed someone, it would just started. Like I was always that guy. I've been in hundreds of commercials now just because I didn't care about, I wasn't embarrassed to be on camera. And a lot of times it was doing saying dumb lines or whatever. And so the more and more I did it, then the more people would think of me for them. And then all of a sudden I started getting cast in commercials that I wasn't producing. People would reach out to me and say, hey, I saw you in that Ford commercial. Do you want to do this? So it just kind of happened like that. And then in horror, on the projects that were mine, it was partly because I love doing it, but partly just out of necessity because it's one less person I have to call and beg to be in my short film for free, Yeah. So, and now I just love it. So people ask me all the time, and I very rarely say no. Which there's so many people that I find out now that were afraid to ask me because they think I'm going to say no for some reason. They think that I'm too busy or too something to be in their projects. And then when I meet them, I say, no, you should. I don't care if it had $100 budget. If I was available and could make it work, I'll come hang out. Why not? I just love doing this stuff. So hopefully I'll be in even I've got to be in some big projects too. I was in Wolf Cop 2 for a second, and It Stains the Sands Red. It's a great zombie movie. I got to be in that too. But then people have called me for super random short films where literally they're making for $5, and I'll show up at their house or their apartment and act a scene for them and leave. So yeah, I just love doing it.
Oh yeah, man, that's awesome. So what is your take on remakes now and reissues of movies? Like the new the new, what is it? Jordan Peele's going to come out with People Under the Stairs. Like, are you like? I mean, there's the internet's so fucking just crazy.
Yeah.
I'm a huge person on unpopular opinions, especially in the horror genre. Like, fucking Halloween 3 is my favorite Halloween, just because it's not the killer. It's not the psycho killer that comes out. I mean, it's a really well done movie, and it's got fucking Tom Atkins in it. Tom Atkins is some shit. So Tom
Atkins is the shit. So yes, and I love Halloween 3 too. 3 too? Yeah, Halloween 3 also. And as far as remakes and rehashes and stuff, I think I've come full circle. I think there was a point in time where I held things to be more precious, and I thought that there, none of my favorite movies should be remade. Just like there was a time in my life where I didn't want anyone else to listen to my favorite band. It was like that kind of thinking. But I think I've come full circle because now it doesn't ever bother me when a movie's getting remade, and I'll always give it a chance. I don't always love them. I mean, I think it's harder to hit a home run when you're doing it, but that's on them. Like the filmmakers have an uphill battle. So if it's even halfway there, then I'm impressed because of that. So, and like I said, I always give them a chance, and a lot of them have been great. So it doesn't ruffle my feathers like it does so many other people. And I think a lot of the people, I mean, some of them probably don't realize that there's movies that they love that are actually remakes of even older movies. Like I can't tell you how many people don't know that like The Thing that we love is a remake, and when they made the most modern remake, we're complaining about it. And or movies like Little Shop of Horrors. Like there's so many movies that are actually remakes of old movies, but if somebody remade the middle version, people would get upset. So, but I don't let things bother me, man. It's so hard to make a movie, and if anyone gets a chance to do something, and it, then I'm gonna give it a chance.
That's why I kind of wanted to get your take on it, just because you do everything in it. You produce, you direct, and you act. I mean, I can get an actor's opinion and be like, oh, fuck that, I don't want to, blah, blah, blah. Or a horror fan that's like, no, I refuse to watch remakes, or I love the remakes. Like, you're a fan, you're an actor, you're a director, you're a writer. I mean, and I like hearing your opinion on stuff, man.
Yeah, and that being said, I don't know that I want to direct a remake ever. I mean, that's a totally, or even act in one. It would depend on what it was. So I mean, I can see the other side of the coin from that side. Like I mean, take someone like Rob Zombie, and he just gets so much shit for the Halloween movies, and there's people that hate him, like genuinely hate him for it, and wish ill will on him for making those movies, which I don't understand. But I don't want to put myself in that place unless I feel like I really have a good idea or really have something to add. So, I mean, if someone called me and just picked a random movie that I wasn't passionate about and offered me some money to remake it, but I knew there was a rabid fan base, I don't think I would do it. Or I'd probably lose some sleep over figuring out how to do it and not get death threats. So, and same with acting, like when you are a beloved character and you're trying to re-portray it, like it's so hard to get people to love your version of it that I would have to think hard about that. But if someone else did it, I would give it a chance, and chances are I'd probably like it. I like a lot of stuff. I'm very easy. If I had a YouTube show reviewing movies, there would never be a negative review. Because I don't know. I know how hard it is to make a movie. So just if it's a movie and it has a beginning, a middle, and end, and some credits, then already you kind of won me over because you did it.
Okay. That's a really, really great way of thinking about it. I mean, that's like I said, I love hearing your take on it. So, do you have any unpopular opinions in horror? Yeah,
I don't.
Fan Drew, like I said, Halloween 3 is.
I don't.
And I will fight to the death on that.
I don't have anything that I'm going to fight to the death over, but there have been times, depending on the crowd, because I am a filmmaker and so many filmmakers are like film school snobs. I don't fit in that crowd necessarily, and so sometimes I'll find myself in a room at a film festival or backstage at a convention with a bunch of filmmakers, and they all want to talk like giallo films, and I'm just not a big giallo guy. It's just never been, I like Suspiria, it's a great movie, but beyond that, it's just never been my cup of tea. I was rewatching like Sleepaway Camp 3 over and over again instead of watching giallo films. So there's often times where I say that, and that's a very unpopular opinion, because you're supposed to love Argento and everything and worship everything he does, or you don't deserve to be a filmmaker. And so that I don't agree with. I think he's great. It's just not what I do. I'd much rather watch stupid campy slasher films than than an Argento film.
No, I agree. I mean, like, shit. If it has boobs and puppets in it, I mean, you can't go wrong on that. Right?
Yeah.
Like, all right. So you have great taste in music. What do you think is the best soundtrack for a horror movie? Which movie has the best horror soundtrack to it?
Oh man, that's tough. Man, what? I don't know. I'm trying to think who has a great metal soundtrack.
I'm an old school punk rocker, so but I do love my old metal too. But
Yeah.
I have to go with Return of the Living Dead, man. Like,
Okay, so Return of the Living Dead has a great soundtrack. My brain was going to like Repo Man, but it's not a horror movie. But the movie Repo Man has a great soundtrack. Um, Man, and then there's like the '80s metal movies that,
Trick or Treat.
yeah, Trick or Treat, and Shock 'Em Dead, which is one of my favorite movies. They have great soundtracks, but I guess Return of the Living Dead Return of the Living Dead is often I say is my favorite movie ever made. I change my answer all the time, but I rotate between like a handful of movies, and Return of the Living Dead is in there. So, and that soundtrack is great.
Yeah. I mean, Grave 45, The Damned. Yeah, so I mean, like, yeah. And it's such a great. Like, I don't know. That to me, that was just one of those things because I watched that when I was a young punk rocker with a fucking mohawk and I was gonna say drinking PBR, but I'm still fucking drinking PBR at 37. So I mean, like, but it was just one of those things, man. Like, it resonated with me and has always stuck with me on that. But fuck, yeah. I think what else, man. So what do you have for, like? I mean, what can you tell people that want to be an actor, writer, director, like, especially like for the horror aspect? What is some tidbits, or what are some tidbits you can give out?
I mean,
Words of wisdom. Let's go.
Yeah.
There we go.
I don't know if I have any words of wisdom. I'm not that wise. Don't let the beard fool you. But I mean, it's so easy to get started. I mean, obviously there's different levels, but at the entry level nowadays, it's so easy to get started because so many people are making movies, and especially horror movies. It just seems to be like the gateway to filmmaking. Like everyone seems to be starting off by making a horror movie, whether they're a horror fan or not. So I feel like I mean, granted, I'm on the West Coast and I'm in a populated city, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I feel like in almost every city in the country, you could find someone not far away, within an hour of you, that's making a movie or wants to make a movie or is trying to make a movie, and you can get together with them and volunteer and offer them your time and your services. And that's really the only way to do it. Like, you're not going to learn what it's like to be on set until you're on set. I mean, even in film school, you don't learn set etiquette and what it's like to be on set until you're actually on a set. So, and a lot of times in film school, it's not a real set because it's you and your other classmates from your class like making something. So it's not until you're in the real world and you're kind of thrown in trial by fire. So that's always what I recommend, and it seems to be what most people recommend. But just to get out and do it, and like I said, it's so much easier now. There are always people making things, and there are people on Craigslist and on Facebook looking for actors and looking for people that'll just help out. And if you want to be a cinematographer, then just start shooting stuff and experiment in your apartment or your parents' basement or wherever you live, in your van down by the river. Like, just get out your camera and shoot stuff. Use your friends, use your parents, use your dog, use action figures, and figure out how light works and what looks cool. Maybe don't show anyone if you're embarrassed of it, but at least you'll learn every time you make something. You'll learn from your mistakes and you'll learn what works and you'll get better, which is why I just love being on set, which is why I'll go act in some dude's first thing he's ever made, and he doesn't even know what he's doing. I'll still go down and help him out and volunteer my time because I love doing this, and everyone's got to start somewhere.
So to go back to you, if you had a dream role in any horror movie to play that role, what role would it be?
Well, I'm just so comfortable playing like a homeless person or a serial killer because those are like the roles that I get offered constantly. So I feel like my instinct is just to fall back on what I'm comfortable with. But that's not really what I want to do. I think my dream role, my dream role is to play like a dad on a Disney sitcom. That's not a horror movie at all, but I think it could be incorporated into. It's just I love the kind of over the top campiness of like because I have kids, I would refer to a Disney sitcom. Like the dad is always just like this big character with dad jokes and and gets to overact and just kind of have fun. But I think that character exists in 80s horror movies as well, and even in modern horror movies to a degree. But I think I just kind of love that big over the top goofy character that it wouldn't have been a dad 10 years ago or 15 years ago for me, but now that I'm 43 years old and have two kids, I think that's what would fit me more. So I don't know, I just kind of like I don't always want to play the killer. Like sometimes I just want to play the goofy dad or something. I just got to play a Boy Scout troop leader in the barn part two. So that was kind of a departure from what I normally do as well. So that was fun. That kind of got to be a little bit of that. But yeah, I always joke around saying I want to play the dad on some Disney show someday. I don't know if they'll ever hire me if they Google me, but who knows?
Fuck it, go for it. Would you shave the beard for it?
Yeah, it depends on what it was, but maybe. I mean, shit. If it was like some big Disney sitcom, Wizards of Waverly Place Part 3 or something, maybe they could pay me enough that I would shave it. I'm not that attached to this. I'm kind of sick of the beard, actually. I would have shaved it a year ago if it wasn't for so many of the roles that like the movies I'm already attached to. Like Pool Party Massacre 2, I have to have it for. And then there were other movies like Slasherette. There are movies that we started shooting a year ago that I had already shot scenes in, so I can't. Like out of respect for them, I can't shave it off and just tell them they're screwed. I got to keep it so till their projects are done. But after Pool Party 2 is done, I think I'll be in the clear. Unfortunately, that probably won't be until like the end of next summer because we won't be able to shoot it now. I mean, even if the world was COVID free tomorrow magically, we wouldn't be able to shoot it till spring because of weather. So and now we don't even know if we could really shoot it in spring yet. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, once that's over, then I could ditch this and grow a mustache and just play a dad.
There you go. All right, man. Thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I love your movies, and I like hearing your opinions and your views on stuff, man. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Do you know who you're having on next?
Not a clue.
No, you don't know yet.
It's so hard to determine, like, because one day I'll get like Andre Gower was my first person. Then I had Jason Marsden, and I fucked up because I caught COVID back in September, and Skype fucking deleted all my shit, and I lost that one in the Justin Shankaran one. Fuck, I just did it again. But and like it was just a thing that happened, but I don't know who's next. Like I think I won't do until next year, but like I said, I'm willing to talk to anyone that has any kind of creative aspect in the horror community, drinkers, non-drinkers. Shit, I try to reach out to Danny Trejo, and I'm like, hey, yeah, we'll sit down and have a beer and blah blah blah. And his person messaged me back, and Mr. Trejo has been sober for 60 years, and I'm like, I did not know that. And then I'm like, I messaged back, I'm like, doesn't he have a beer? Like he has a beer, like. And I'm like, we can talk about that, and I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I want to hear about his sobriety. That's cool. And it's just like, who knows? I don't know who.
Yeah. It would have been cool if you got Danny Trejo. I just got to moderate a panel with him, so I got to hang out on stage and talk to him at Days of the Dead a couple of weeks ago, and he was one of the coolest people I've ever met. Like, just a real genuinely nice guy, but just super cool too. Like, he was awesome.
Like my goal is to get this, like initially when it came. So how this came about was I'm a chef, and I lost my job back in March because of COVID stuff. And we were sitting on the couch, and my wife looks at me and goes, "What is your passion?" And I go, and I kind of thought and laughed. I'm like, drinking beer and watching horror movies. And she just goes, "Well, that's gonna be it." And I'm like, "Fucking sweet." So
Yeah.
and I had the idea of doing the shoot the shit, and like I want to do it live. Like I want to do it. I get a booth, get 2 chairs, kind of like between 2 ferns, meets hot ones, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sipping a beer and just shooting the shit. Like I don't like. I have questions, but like each person's gonna have different set of questions. Like I like the only one that I know. Like I'm gonna do the difference of opinion and horror or like that. I mean, like that's the only one, just because that was going to be a whole other spin-off thing that I was going to do back before I actually got sick. But no, I mean, I just like shooting the shit with people, and I want to do it. I want to do it live, and I can't wait till the cons come around. I mean, I got merch, and like just to sit down and talk with people. Like I honestly say my two tops are Tom Atkins and Bruce Campbell, and I know Tom Atkins drinks, like I've already found this out. He drinks Stella Artois. And 1 minute he's going to be an angry grandpa, and next minute he's going to be one of the coolest dudes you ever met. And I'm like, that's fucking perfect.
Yeah, that's right. I got to be on a podcast with Tom, and he was awesome. Like in person, like we were in the same room hanging out back. It was back at a con a couple years ago, and he was super cool.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and Bruce I've met a couple times. He's really cool, but he's a handful. Like in a good, I mean, he's just Bruce Campbell. I don't, not in a bad way. He's just Bruce. I have a funny Andre Gower story. You were talking about shooting the shit and with Andre Gower. So I went to lunch with him. I don't know. It was like a year and a half ago now. Like we have some mutual friends in the business and stuff, and so we ended up talking about potential projects and stuff. And so we decided to go to lunch and talk about it. And so I invited him. I said, "Hey, come meet me at this place." And we sit down. He decides he's not even hungry, so I'm the only one that orders anything. I order like a coffee and a smoothie, and we have a great talk. We're hanging out. It was awesome. And we go to leave, and I reach in my pocket and realize I forgot my wallet. So I have to do like the horrible, like, "Hey dude, I'm so sorry, but I forgot my wallet. Is there any way you can pay?" And he did, and he was totally happy to do it. But like I was completely mortified. Like I invited this man now, but this, in my mind, this kid from my favorite movie when I was a kid, like one of my heroes from my childhood. I invite him. I get a chance to go to lunch with him, which I would have never imagined would ever happen. And we're just hanging out at lunch, shooting the shit. And then I have to end it with, "Hey man, is there any way you could pay for my smoothie because I forgot my wallet?" And I think he understood and believed me, but because I really did. Obviously, I wasn't just trying to get a free smoothie out. It wasn't some like ploy to get a free smoothie. But man, it was just mortifying to have to say that. And I don't think I've talked to him since. Not that I needed to talk to him since, but I can't wait to bump into him again so I can bring that up and maybe buy him a smoothie to pay him back. But he was super cool. He was a great guy. Or he still is a great guy, but he was awesome. But that's my Andre Gower story.
That's awesome, dude. That's fucking hilarious. And honestly, hopefully I'll make it out that way when we start doing cons, man. And shoot the shit live, and I know you don't drink, so I mean I'll have a variety of.
I have my Liquid Death sparkling water though.
Okay.
That's all I need. Ever. Where in the, I forgot where you are in the country. Louisville. Okay. You get cons in Louisville, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like one of the reasons I said like I base everything on Pacific time when I do it, because everyone's either West Coast or that side. So I try to shoot it. I got a 1-year-old and a 7-year-old. So once bedtime happens, I'll sit down and do this. Man, yeah, no, and if you're out in Louisville, like we plan on traveling and going around and doing the cons, but I'm just trying to figure out when everything is going to open back up. I know Nashville is planning on doing theirs what is it? The Full Moon Con is. I'm trying to get on that one. I was trying to get on Pensacon in Florida, but that one's been booked up for, I guess, for like 2 years. So.
Oh wow.
But Days of the Dead, I've been working with them, and hopefully I can get the Indianapolis one, because I mean that's right up the road for me. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's a great. I mean, I love going to the Indianapolis cons. Horror Hound Indy is great. They have Mass Fest there too. That's a rad one.
But yeah, man, like I'm not, who's gonna come on? I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
That's my hardest part is, like, I'm basing, like, I don't have connections within anyone, like, and so I just shoot messages on Instagram, or if I can get an email address, I'll shoot an email, and I'll either get no, that's not the kind of thing we want to be on, or nothing, or like, yeah, let's do it. So.
Well, I can, when we're done with this, through Messenger or whatever, I can recommend a couple people and I can put you in touch with them.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, man. Thank you.
That I'm sure would love to
I
talk
gotta
to
tell
you.
you one thing. My absolute best friend is named Adam Mariano. He lives down in Nashville, and he looks exactly like you. Like,
oh, really?
You too. Like, and I think that was one of the things that I kind of drew me. I'm like, holy shit! Like, when you do the Santa picture, I sent it to him. I'm like, goes, yes, he resembles me, but a little bit older. And I'm like, are you related to him? Like, you like distant cousins or something like that? And he's like, not that I know of. And I'm like, dude, you look exactly like him. And everyone, like, my wife and kids, I thought like you were him. Like, I'm like, why is that? I haven't thought. I'm like, why is Adam dressed like? I'm like, holy shit, that's not Adam. But, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
He's my doppelganger. I'll have to remember that.
His name's Pero something on Facebook. He's I told him to go add you. So, but oh yeah, man, thank you.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
I appreciate you coming on and shooting the shit, and hopefully we'll meet in the near future. And,
yeah.
Oh, and hey, if you need someone that's almost 7 feet tall, I'm down for it.
Are you almost 7 feet tall?
I'm almost 7 feet tall. I'm 6'11", yeah.
I can't tell when you're sitting there, so.
Okay. So
but I believe you.
24 months hand in my hand.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. So I'm 6'11", and I mean I've always wanted to exploit that, and I just don't know how to. So I sat there, I'm like, fuck, why don't I go be in horror movies? Like go be in sci-fi grade horror movies.
Dude, it's gotta suck to be a chef. Every kitchen's built for like normal people.
True.
Yeah. Like you're never gonna walk into a kitchen built for you unless you build it. You're hitting your head on hoods, yeah, constantly. Although you'll know if the top of the hood's dirty.
Yeah.
You're like
or the plate warmers.
Yeah.
That was always my job as a cook, to scrub out the fucking hood system and just reach up there, pull them down, and oh god, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Well, yeah, I'll keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone else that's 6'11".
Yeah.
So you're definitely the number one choice.
I can't vouch for my acting abilities, but I mean, the quiet guy in the corner that has tattoos and a beard and that's 7 feet tall. There you go.
Yeah. Sweet.
All right, man. Once again, thank you very much for coming on, and I greatly appreciate it. And you've been awesome, dude. And you're as cool as I thought you were going to be. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm glad I didn't let you down. And hopefully I'll see you in person someday. I'll look up to you.
Yeah. You can get pictures. Well,
yeah. Yeah. I'll feel like a midget, even though I'm 6 foot tall.
There you go.
Yeah, cool. Be your tiny little buddy.
There you go.
All right, man. Well, have a good night. It was a good talk.
Right. You too.
All right. Later.
Bye.